Hi there and welcome. If you're here, then you might be wondering, what exactly is a water softener? Well, you're in the right place. Today we're going to break down what a water softener is, why you might need one, and how it actually works. We decided to make a video on this topic because it's a hard subject to explain. Sure, you can read about it from 20 sources, but even then it's a tough concept to totally grasp. So by request, we are going to attempt to break it down quickly in a way that's easy to digest. So let's start with the basics. A water softener is a device that removes minerals like calcium and magnesium from your water. These minerals are what makes water hard. Now you might be thinking, why would I want to remove these minerals? I've always heard that calcium and magnesium are good for our health, right? That's true, we do need these minerals, but we get most of them from the food we eat and not from the water we drink. The problem with these minerals in your water is that they can cause serious issues in your home. Over time, hard water can destroy your plumbing, damage your appliances, and even reduce the efficiency of your water heater. Plus, it can make your soaps and detergents less effective, leaving your skin feeling dry and dull your hair and clothes. In short, installing a water softener is an investment in your home, your appliances, and your overall lifestyle. So how does a water softener work? The first thing many people notice is that a water softener requires bags of salt to work properly. At its core, a water softener is an ion exchanger. It trades the hard water minerals in your water with sodium ions found in salt. It literally swaps them one out for the other. We use sodium because it doesn't stick to your pipes or build up in your water heater. It allows your soaps and your detergents to work effectively, and it's gentler on your skin and your hair. Here's a brief history lesson. Water softeners have been around for a long time, over 100 years, but they didn't become widely used in homes before electronics were reliable. Originally, homeowners had to manually turn valves to get the softening process going. Imagine that. Now, water softeners today are much more reliable and efficient. Thanks to automation, most modern water softeners come equipped with an internal metering device that counts the gallons of water used and regenerates only when needed. So you might be asking, what does regeneration mean? When does a softener need to regenerate, and why? How is hardness measured? Let's dive into that. Here's how it works. Water softeners come in various shapes, sizes, and brands, but the technology inside is pretty consistent. At the heart of every water softener is softening resin. This is resin made up of tiny hard beads of polystyrene wrapped in divinyl benzene. The resin beads are negatively charged and come preloaded with sodium ions. Why is this? Well, hardness minerals like calcium and magnesium naturally have a positive charge. As your water flows through the softener tank and passes over the resin, these positively charged hardness ions dislodge the sodium ions from the resin beads and take their place. The hardness minerals are now stuck to the resin. However, the resin inside of a water softening tank has a limited capacity. Over time, the resin becomes saturated with hardness minerals and can no longer soften the water. This is what we refer to as the resin's capacity. How long does it take for the resin to reach its capacity? That depends on two main factors. The first is the hardness of your water, which is how many minerals it contains. The second factor is how much water you're using, which is measured in gallons. So let's do a little bit of napkin math to illustrate this. So a softener's capacity is a fixed value determined by the volume of resin inside the tank. Resin volume is usually measured in cubic feet, and the most common sizes for the residential tanks are 1, 1.5, and 2 cubic feet. For example, a 9 by 48 inch tank such as this one generally contains 1 cubic foot of resin. A 1054 tank generally contains 1.5 cubic feet of resin, and a 12 by 52 inch tank generally contains 2 cubic feet of resin. Now let's convert this volume of resin into grain capacity. 1 cubic foot of resin has a maximum capacity of 35,000 grains. A 1.5 cubic foot system can handle up to 53,000 grains, and a 2 cubic foot system can handle up to 70,000 grains. This means that a 1 cubic foot water softener with a capacity of 35,000 grains can remove or hold 35,000 grains of hardness before it needs to regenerate. There are surely water nerds like myself out there who are going to say, well, actually this napkin math is misleading. Okay, yeah, you got me. I didn't want to make this 10-minute video into a 30-minute video. So to clean that up without going too deep into the weeds, 35,000 grains is the maximum capacity of 1 cubic foot of resin when it's new. Over time, that can settle out to 32,000 to 30,000. Grain capacity can also be lowered if you use less salt per regeneration, so technically it's possible to use less salt per regeneration, but you'll regenerate more frequently. Again, don't want to get too far in the weeds, but that's a thing. Water nerds, feel free to lecture us in the comments. But what exactly is a grain? A grain is a unit of measurement for water hardness. where 1 grain is equal to 17.1 parts per million, or milligrams per liter, of calcium and magnesium ions. Water hardness is oftentimes measured in a metric called grains per gallon. The higher the number, the harder the water. Here's a visual scale of relative water hardness across the country. Now let's go back to our back of the napkin math. Imagine you have water with 15 grains per gallon of hardness. Now let's say you live in a home with 4 people and each person uses about 75 gallons of water per day. That's 300 gallons of water per day for your household. With 15 grains of hardness per gallon, you're dealing with 4,500 grains of water hardness flowing through your pipes every day. Remember, our water softener in this example has a capacity of 35,000 grains. So every day, that capacity is being reduced by 4,500 grains. Let's do the math. 35,000 divided by 4,500 gives us roughly 7.7 days. That means your water softener can treat about 7.7 days worth of water. Another way to do this math is take your capacity, in this case 35,000 grains, and divide it by your grains of hardness in your water. In this example, 15 grains. So 35,000 divided by 15 grains gives you 2,333. This number represents the number of gallons that your water softener can use before it needs to regenerate. So the next logical question is, what happens when a water softener regenerates? Most water softeners operate using 5 main modes or cycles to ensure your water stays soft and your system functions efficiently. The first is service mode. This is your default water softener mode. It's going to operate in this condition 99% of the time. In service mode, hard water flows into the softener tank, passes through the resin where the hardness minerals are removed, and soft water flows out into your home's plumbing system. Simple, seamless. Modern water softeners are quite smart. They come equipped with a gallon counter and a programmable control unit. When it's time to regenerate, the system automatically initiates a series of 4 cycles to recharge the resin and prepare it to continue softening your water efficiently. Let's break down these steps. First is backwash. In this cycle, water flows backwards through the resin tank at a high speed. This process serves 2 important purposes. The first purpose is it flushes out any sediment, dirt, or trapped particles from the resin bed, preventing clogging and maintaining efficiency. The second purpose is it loosens the resin beads, ensuring they are evenly distributed for optimal performance in the coming cycles. This cycle typically lasts a few minutes and helps prolong the lifespan of your system by keeping the resin clean and functional. Next comes the brine draw and rinse cycle, which is crucial for recharging the resin beads. A highly concentrated saltwater solution, known as brine, is drawn from the brine tank and slowly introduced into the resin tank. The sodium ions in the brine replace the accumulated hardness minerals, the calcium and magnesium, on the resin beads, effectively regenerating the softener's capabilities. After the brine has done its job, fresh water continues to flow through the resin tank, slowly rinsing away the displaced hardness minerals and any excess salt. This ensures that the resin is clean and ready to soften water again without leaving a salty taste or residue. Next, a rapid rinse cycle follows to further clean and settle the resin bed. Water flows quickly downward through the resin tank, compacting the resin beads back into place and flushing out any remaining impurities or leftover brine solution. This step guarantees that the water leaving the softener is clear, soft, and free of any residual salt or hardness minerals. The final step is the brine refill cycle. In this process, water is added back into the brine tank to dissolve the salt and create a new brine solution for the next regeneration cycle. The amount of water added is precisely controlled to ensure the correct concentration of brine is available when needed again. Once the cycle is complete, the system returns back to service mode and the entire regeneration process is ready to repeat as necessary. Now you might be wondering, do I have water during a regeneration cycle? The short answer is yes, you will still have water, but there's a catch. It won't be soft water. This could be a bit inconvenient, especially if you rely on soft water for your daily routines. But don't worry, the industry has thought this through, and there's a common solution to minimize any disruption. First, you can actually set the time of day when you want your water softener to regenerate. Most systems are programmed by default to regenerate around 2 a.m., at a time when you're least likely to be using water. This way, the regeneration happens while you're asleep and your soft water supply is restored by the time you wake up. So hopefully this video has given you a solid understanding of the basics of a water softening system and answered some of your questions that you might have had. Now,